Hi, my name is Miss Mackey, and I'm going to take you through some practice problems for the 7th grade Big Ideas textbook, lesson 4.2, Solving Inequalities. I'm going to go ahead and explain some practice problems to you, and then I'm going to let you and your partner work through these and be able to help each other out to solve. The first problem that I want you to go ahead and write down underneath your heading is x minus 5 is less than negative 3. At any time during the video you need more time to write or you need to go ahead and watch it again, you can hit pause and rewind as needed. So if I'm going to go ahead and solve for the variable x, I need to go ahead and get the x by itself. I'm going to treat an inequality very similar to an equation by isolating the variable. To isolate the variable, the opposite of subtracting 5 would be adding 5. So I'm going to go ahead and add 5 to both sides. Once I've added 5 to both sides, I get that x is a number or a value that is less than 2. That means any number that's less than 2, I can plug into the original inequality and it'll make the statement true. So if I were to go ahead and select a value where x is less than 2, for example 1 minus 5 is less than negative 3. 1 minus 5 is negative 4. And therefore, negative 4 is less than negative 3, and it is a true statement. So what I've done is I've isolated the variable. The only difference is I'm not getting an actual value for x. I'm getting options for x. So x doesn't equal anything. X has to be less than 2, which means a lot of different numbers. All right, so go ahead and copy down y minus 6 is greater than 7. I want you and your partner to go ahead and try to work through this problem. If you have any questions, you can ask your partner. Hit the pause button and only go ahead and resume the video when you and your partner have both completed this first problem. I'm going to go ahead and solve this as if it was an equation by adding 6 to both sides. When I add 6 to both sides, I get that y is greater than 13. That means I can pick any value that's bigger than 13 to go ahead and plug back into the original inequality to make the statement true. So if I pick a number that's bigger than 13, 15 is bigger than 13. So if I take 15 minus 6 is greater than 7. Well, 9 is greater than 7, so my statement is true. So any value bigger than 13 when plugged back in will go ahead and make the statement true. So when you're solving an inequality, you're going ahead and you don't have an x equal or a y equals, you have a range of values that you could go ahead and select. All right, now there's fractions here. You gotta remember that in order to add and subtract fractions, you need a common denominator. So go ahead and hit the pause button and try to go ahead and solve this inequality. Only hit resume when you and your partner are both completely done. I'm going to go ahead and isolate this variable. This variable is actually on the right side. The opposite of subtracting 1/4 is adding 1/4. If you can't do this mental math in your head, you need to doodle to the side, that's totally fine. I have a negative and a positive, which means I'm going to go ahead and subtract because there's 0 pairs being taken away. I have 1/2 minus 1/4. 1/2 minus 1/4, they need common denominators, fourths. So those are equal. So I have 2/4 minus 1/4 is 1/4. Negative 1/2 is larger than 1/4, so I'm going to go ahead and have the answer be negative. So when I go ahead and solve, I have that z is less than negative 1/4, and I can write it both ways. I need to find a value that's smaller than 1/4. What's a number that's smaller than 1/4? I could pick any number on the number line that has an actual bigger value, but it's farther away. So I need to pick a bigger negative. So a less than negative 1/4. I could go ahead and pick, the number I'm going to pick for z is less than 1/4. Let's say I'm going to pick negative, let's say 1. Because it's further away from 0. So I have negative 1/2. And what is negative 1 minus 1/4? When I go ahead and subtract, I'm adding the opposite. So I have negative 1 and 1/4. This is the tricky part that you have to pay attention to. You have to make sure that you're changing your subtraction to adding the opposite, and negative 1/2 plus more 1/4 is a total of negative 1 and 1/4. Is negative 1/2 bigger than negative 1/4? It is, because it's farther away from 0. So that statement is true. Okay, we're going to go ahead and include numbers that are not just less than or greater than, but numbers that possibly could also include the answer with a line underneath with an equal sign. I'm going to treat example 2 just like an equation. If you need time to copy it down, hit the pause button. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 14 to both sides to isolate the variable. I now go ahead and I have x is greater than or equal to negative 1. So I need to pick a value that's bigger than negative 1. That value could be 0. So if I go ahead and I have 13 is less than or equal to 0 plus 14, that means that I can go ahead and it's true because 14 is bigger or equal. The difference in example 2 is that x is greater than or equal. That means I can pick values that are bigger than negative 1, or I could pick negative 1. The line underneath represents it could be equal as well. So any number bigger than negative 1 or equal to negative 1 will make the statement true. You're going to go ahead and try w minus 7 is less than or equal to 10. Hit the pause button. Try this by yourself. If you need to ask questions, feel free to do so with your partner. Only resume the video when you're ready and you've completed the problem. I'm going to treat this again like an equation. I'm going to add 7 to both sides to isolate my w. Those cancel out. I have that w is less than or equal to 17. That means any value equal to 17 or less than 17 will make this statement true. So I'm going to go ahead and pick 10. 10 minus 7 is less than or equal to 10. Well, is 3 less than or equal to 10? It is. That means the statement is true. You have to pay attention if there is an equal sign underneath, that value could be 17. Okay? We're going to try our next example, and this will be our last one. X plus 3/4 is greater than or equal to 1/2. Remember, when adding, subtracting fractions, you need a common denominator. Go ahead and hit your pause button and only resume when you and your partner are both completed with this problem. I'm going to solve this as if it was an equation. I'm going to subtract 3/4 from both sides. Those cancel out. I am left with x is greater than, I don't know what 1/2 minus 3/4 is. There's no negatives involved, so you have some positives, some negatives, so you're subtracting, or you're just doing a basic subtraction, but I need a common denominator. So I'm going to doodle off to the side, 1 1/2 minus 3/4. I'm going to find a common denominator of fourths. So that is the same as 1 2/4 minus 3/4. When I'm subtracting, you can either borrow or change to an improper fraction. I'm going to change to an improper fraction. I then go ahead and have 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 more is 6/4, minus 3/4 equals 3/4. Because this is a straight subtraction, the original problem indicates my answer is going to be positive. So I need to pick a value that is greater than 3/4. If there was a line underneath, I also could pick 3/4, but there's not. So a number bigger than 3/4. 1 is bigger than 3/4. So what is 1 plus 3/4? Is that greater than 1 1/2? Yes, it is, because 1 3/4 is bigger than 1 1/2. In solving inequalities, you're going to solve them the same way that you solved equations, by isolating the variable. The last part that makes it different is that x isn't equaling an actual number, all right? It's saying it could be a range of numbers. The difference between example 1 and example 2 is in example 2 there were lines underneath. So that says it could be less than or greater based on the inequality sign and equal. All right, those are some practice problems for lesson 4.2, solving inequalities. Thanks a lot.